Yesterday, Sayadaw explained that at the moment of hearing, there is Nama and Rupa, mentality and materiality, which are Dukkha Sacca, the truth of suffering. So Sayadaw explained briefly yesterday. If it were to explain in a Dhamma way, it will be very lengthy. And during the practice, it is not necessary to know in detail according to Abhidhamma. At the moment of hearing, what the yogi should be noting, observing, there are 5 things. There are 5 things. The first one is Sotapassada, in Pali, the ear sensitivity. Ear sensitivity is the receptor. And there are the sounds that are heard. These are the sound waves. So the sound or the sound wave is the striker. So when the sound wave strikes the ear base, then there is hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling. Hearing consciousness is called Sota Vijnana in Pali, and this hearing consciousness takes place based on the ear sensitivity. So when the sound waves come into contact with the ear base, hearing consciousness takes place at the ear sensitivity. Hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling are called ignition. Not only the hearing consciousness takes place, but there are also other cetasika, other mental factors associating with hearing consciousness. But the basic, what the yogi should know, is phassa, contact, and vedana, feeling or sensation. Coming into contact is called phassa. So at the ear base, the sound and the hearing consciousness come into contact at the ear base, and contact is called phassa. So when one comes into contact with the sound, there is hearing consciousness, there is hearing contact, and also there is hearing feeling. In a Abhidhamma way, when one hears something, there is neither pleasant nor unpleasant at the moment of hearing. But after hearing, the continuum, there are other continuum after hearing, and only then there will be good or bad feeling. But in Suttanta way, there mention 3 kinds of feeling connected with hearing. When one hears pleasant objects, when one hears sweet sound, there is pleasant feeling. When one hears unpleasant sound, there is unpleasant feeling. And also when one hears neither good nor bad sound, there is there is a feeling that is neither pleasant nor unpleasant. So such kind of feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling, it is not obvious. According to Suttanta way, one should note the feeling that is obvious. When the feeling is pleasant feeling, when pleasant feeling is obvious, one should note it. And when the feeling is unpleasant, one should also note it. So in this way, one should note the feeling that is obvious, and no need to note the feeling that is not obvious. So at the moment of hearing, the nama mentality that are prominent is hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling. So these are the three kinds of mentality that should be observed at the moment of hearing. So in this way, there are 5 things that the yogi should know at the moment of hearing. The first one is the ear base, the second one is sound waves, the third hearing consciousness, the fourth hearing contact, and the fifth hearing feeling. So if the yogi knows these 5 things, it is said that one knows everything connected with hearing. But when one is noting hearing, one should not be analyzing in a Abhidhamma way whether this is the sound, whether this is the ear base, whether this is the hearing consciousness, whether this is the hearing contact, or whether this is the hearing feeling. But one should note it generally as a whole as hearing. If one is analyzing in a Abhidhamma way at the moment of hearing, whether this is the sound, the hearing consciousness, or hearing contact, then one misses or fails to note hearing. And what one comes to know will not be through direct experience of practice. So in this way, one should not analyze in theory at the moment of hearing, but one should note it generally as a whole, just as hearing. And when one becomes skillful in the practice, by noting hearing, one discerns. Sayadaw gives an example. When one eats a kind of food that has 5 different flavors present, by chewing, one will come to know the taste. When the mind falls on sweetness, the person knows sweetness. When the mind falls on sourness, the person comes to know sourness. So in this way, by chewing properly, paying attention, one comes to know either one of the 5 flavors present in the food. If one knows any one of the 5 flavors, it is said that the person knows the taste of the food. In the same way, by noting hearing at the moment of hearing, if the yogi comes to know any one of the 5 things involved in hearing, it is said that discerning hearing is complete. So when noting, one should just note it in Suttanta way, in everyday language, just as hearing. Buddha said that by knowing directly, by discerning distinctly, one can dispel not knowing, one can dispel craving, clinging. By being mindful, when one discerns clearly, distinctly, directly, then one is removing the defilements, avijja, taṇṭa, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging. So such kind of yogi who discerns directly, clearly, distinctly is reaching the stage where the round of defilements, avijja, taṇṭa, and upadana, ignorance, craving, and clinging are removed. Such kind of yogi is fit, such kind of yogi deserves to attain nibbana, which is free from defilement, which is free from suffering. In order to reach that stage, one should be mindful at the moment of arising. Noting hearing at the moment of hearing, when the yogi comes to know any one of the 5 things that are consistent in hearing, then the yogi discerns, the yogi develops knowledge, and thus she removes the darkness of ignorance. When one knows correctly, there will not be knowing wrongly. Knowing wrongly will be removed as the person develops knowledge. Knowing wrongly has no chance to arise when the person discerns. If there is not knowing, there can be craving, clinging. One can cling on things with wrong view, such that it is the jiva atta, individual soul, person, or being that is hearing. But when one discerns by being mindful at the moment of hearing, there will not be avijja, ignorance, there will not be taṇṭa, craving, there will not be upadana, clinging. In this way, one removes the defilement, and the person has gained the stage where the defilements are removed. So by removing the kilesa defilements, avijja, taṇṭa, and upadana, by removing craving, clinging, by removing ignorance, craving, clinging, one will no longer perform deeds. One will no longer perform good or bad deeds based on defilement. When no longer performs good or bad deeds based on defilement, there will not be any further result. So in this way, when one can remove defilement, one will also be cutting the round of deeds that leads to further assistances. When the deeds leading to further assistances are cut, there will not be further resultant, there will not be further assistance. So in this way, one is cutting the round of defilements. When the round of defilements are cut, the round of karma, the karma vada, round of deeds, will also be cut. And vipaka vada, the round of resultants, will also be ceased. So in this way, the person is said to be reaching dukkha kaya, the end of suffering. And thus the person is fit, the person deserves to reach the cessation where all the 3 rounds come to a cessation. So by removing ignorance, craving, clinging, one needs to discern. In order to discern, one's noting mind should be direct or face-to-face with the object. One should aim one's noting mind towards the object so that the noting mind will be face-to-face or direct with the object. Sayadaw gives an example. When two persons meet face-to-face, then they know who it is that the person is seeing. In the same way, in order to discern, the noting mind should be face-to-face or direct with the object so that the person can discern. In order to discern, in order to keep the noting mind face-to-face or direct with the object, one should aim and direct one's noting mind towards the object, and one should exert effort so that the noting mind reaches the object. When one is noting hearing with aim and effort, at times the noting mind falls on the ear base, and thus the person discerns ear base. At times the noting mind falls on the sound, and thus the person knows the sound. At times the noting mind falls on hearing consciousness, and thus he/she comes to discern hearing consciousness. At times the noting mind may fall on hearing contact, and thus the person discerns hearing contact. At times the noting mind falls on hearing feeling, and thus the person knows hearing feeling. So in this way, the person will come to know any one of these 5 things by being mindful at the moment of hearing. So Sayadaw gives an example. By chewing a kind of food that has 5 flavors, by chewing properly, paying attention, one comes to know any one of the 5 flavors. In the same way, by being mindful at the moment of hearing, one comes to know any one of the 5 things that are consisted in hearing. So in order to discern, one should note the object with aim and effort. Noting thus, one comes to discern the nama rupa that are present at the moment of hearing. So one discerns mind and matter, cause and effect, and one sees the object arising and passing away, and thus one comes to understand impermanent, suffering, and non-self by direct experiential knowledge. Knowing correctly, ignorance will be removed. Knowing wrongly will be removed. When ignorance is removed, one will no longer crave, one will no longer cling. And such kind of person deserves to reach the stage where all the suffering come to a cessation. So in this way, there should be a binya, one should know directly, one should know distinctly, and one should remove the defilements, avijja, tasna, and upadana, and one gains benefit of the practice. Dukkha means cessation of all suffering. So it is Nibbana, which is called Dukkha. Nibbana being free from all suffering. So in order to reach Dukkha, the cessation of all suffering, one needs to be mindful of the Dukkha Sacca that is arising at the present moment. One should be mindful and one should discern Dukkha Sacca. Discerning Dukkha Sacca, one is free from craving and clinging. Being free from craving, clinging, one is stopping the round of defilement. Stopping the round of defilement, one will also stop Kamavada, round of deeds. And when the round of deeds are stopped, Vipakavada, the round of resultants, will come to a stop. So in this way, by noting the presently arising object and by discerning, one is stopping the round of defilements, the round of deeds, the round of defilement, the resultant. In this way, the three rounds are coming to a stop momentarily. So one should accumulate momentary cessation in order to gain the ultimate cessation. So in this way, one should be mindful, one should discern, so that there will be momentary cessation. So when momentary cessations are accumulated, finally one will reach the stage where one becomes purified totally, when one attains Magga Phala Jnana, path and fruition knowledge. When one attains path and fruition knowledge, one attains the ultimate cessation. So this is the ultimate cessation, the true cessation. So in order to reach the ultimate cessation, one should reach momentary cessation. It is called the Danga Nirodha, momentary cessation. It is also called the Danga Sandhi, momentary peace. So one should develop the Danga Nirodha, the Danga Sandhi, momentary cessation, momentary peace, in order to reach Acchanda Nirodha, the ultimate cessation. So one should be mindful in order to reach the momentary cessation. So one should be practicing in order to develop Vipassana Jnana, insight knowledge, stage by stage. By developing insight knowledge, stage by stage, one will finally reach the ultimate cessation. So, analyzing the noting, there is Sila, Samadhi and Panya, morality, concentration and wisdom in the noting. When one fulfills Sila, morality, one removes Vitekama Kilesa, transgressive defilements. When one has Viriya, Sati and Samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, Priyuttana Kilesa, obsessive defilements, have no chance to arise when concentration group is present. So when one is developing Viriya, Sati and Samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, even though one comes across desirable objects, greed cannot arise. Even if one comes across undesirable objects, anger, hatred, aversion cannot arise. Normally, when people meet desirable objects, greed arises. When meeting undesirable objects, there can be anger, hatred and aversion. So usually, normally, people are very quick to respond, and their mind is brittle. When one develops Viriya, Sati and Samadhi, effort, mindfulness and concentration, their mind no longer is quick to respond. Their mind is no longer brittle when Viriya, Sati and Samadhi are present. When one develops knowledge, one becomes mature, one develops spiritual stamina, spiritual resistance, able to withstand good and bad things. So developing knowledge, one will not crave, one will not cling, and one develops spiritual stamina. Having overcome gross, medium and refined form of defilement, the brittleness of the mind is removed. So the brittleness of the mind, the gross, medium and refined form of defilement are removed, and thus the person develops spiritual stamina, spiritual resistance, able to withstand the adversity. So in this way, the person will not respond quickly. There will not be quick response. There will not be brittleness of the mind. But there will be the spiritual stamina. So this is the immediate result one can get by being mindful. By being mindful of the object, there will be dukkha, momentary cessation of the suffering. So by being mindful, one reaches momentary cessation, and such kind of person is fit, such kind of person deserves to reach the ultimate cessation. So in order to reach the ultimate cessation, one should practice diligently. One should not be practicing in an easy-going manner. One should not be practicing sluggishly. So if the person does not practice diligently, intensively, if the person is looking here and there, not controlling the faculty, looking this and that, listening to this and that, the person will be far from cessation. Not fulfilling sila, the person is far from cessation. Not developing concentration, the person is far from cessation. Even if one develops concentration, but if one does not develop knowledge, one will be far from cessation and one will not gain benefit. So one should note generally as a whole as hearing. So at times one experiences that the ear is sensitive to hear the sound. So in this case, one discerns the ear sensitivity. And when one understands that it is the instrument, it is the place where the sound and the hearing consciousness come into contact, then one knows the ear sensitivity, which is the base. And if one knows, such as hearing is taking place at this location, so knowing thus, one comes to know the ear sensitivity. So the ear sensitivity is rupa, materiality, which is dukkha Sacca, the truth of suffering. If one knows that it is striking on the ear, one comes to discern the sound, which is the striker. the sound being the materiality, which is Dukkha Sacca. And also, if one knows that it is the object to be heard, it is the object of hearing consciousness, one comes to know the sound, which is Rupa, materiality. And if one knows hearing consciousness, it is Nama, mentality. And when one knows that the sound and the hearing consciousness coming into contact, then one discerns Phassa, the hearing contact. And when one experiences pleasant or unpleasant feeling, then one discerns the hearing feeling. So hearing contact, hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling are Nama, mentality. So at the moment of hearing, the ear base and the sound are Rupa, materiality. Hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling are Nama, mentality. So at the moment of hearing, there is only mentality and materiality. There is no Atta, there is no living soul, there is no being. In the process of hearing, what really exists is Nama and Rupa, mentality and materiality. Understanding thus, one removes Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view, and one removes the wrong view, believing as Jiva, Atta. As the person continues to practice, when one notes hearing, one understands that because there is ear, there is hearing. If there are no ears, there will not be hearing. So ear base is the cause for hearing. So the ear base is the cause, which is Rupa, materiality. Because there is sound to be heard, hearing takes place. So the sound is also the cause, which is materiality. So the cause are the ear base and the sound. Both of them are materiality. And because there is the sound and the ear base, there arises hearing contact, hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling. Hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling are the effect, which is mentality. Because there is the sound and the ear base, hearing takes place. So there is the hearing takes place not without a cause. So in this way, one understands that things arise due to relevant cause. Hearing is not created because there is the ear and the sound. Hearing takes place. Hearing is not created by the Mahabrahma. It is not created by the Creator. Because there is the striker and the receptor, hearing takes place as the ignition. Hearing does not arise without a cause, and hearing is not created by the Creator. In this way, one understands that relevant cause is giving rise to relevant effect. So things are happening due to relevant cause. Understanding thus, one also comes to understand by inference that in the past as well, the sound and the ear base are the cause, and the hearing consciousness, hearing contact, and hearing feeling are the effect. And also in the future, there will be the cause and effect. Understanding thus, one removes uncertainty and doubt, and one removes the wrong view that it is the Mahabrahma creating the world and also animate and inanimate things. Understanding cause and effect, understanding that relevant cause are giving rise to relevant effect, one will no longer believe that there is the Creator creating the world and the beings. So it is very precious to gain the knowledge into cause and effect. Developing knowledge into cause and effect by being mindful at the moment of hearing, one removes wrong view believing in Mahabrahma. So this is the example of being mindful at the moment of hearing in order to discern mind and matter, cause and effect. The same goes with seeing, smelling, tasting, touching and knowing. So at the moment of hearing, one should note it according to the instruction given. One should note it accurately, precisely at the moment of hearing. So by noting according to the guidance and instruction, accurately, precisely, one discerns things that should be discerned, and one gains benefits of practice. So there is saying in Vipassana, at the moment of hearing, there is the ear and the sound, which are rupa, materiality. Hearing consciousness, hearing contact and hearing feeling are nama, mentality, which are dukkha, sacca. So at the moment of hearing, there is only mentality and materiality. It is not atta, living soul. It is not the jiva atta, individual soul. What really is arising is the mentality and materiality. By being mindful at the moment of hearing, one removes ditthi, wrong view. And thus, going further with the practice, there comes to the saying that at the moment of hearing, the ear and the sound are the cause, which are rupa, materiality. Hearing contact, hearing feeling, hearing consciousness, hearing contact and hearing feeling are the effect, which are nama, mentality. So hearing does not arise without a cause. Hearing is not created. Hearing arises due to the relevant cause, which is the ear and the sound wave. And hearing consciousness, hearing contact, hearing feeling arise as an effect. In order to discern them, one should be mindful at the moment of hearing. By being mindful at the moment of hearing, discerning cause and effect, discerning the relevant cause giving rise to relevant effect, one removes uncertainty, doubt and wrong view. One removes the wrong view that it is the Creator creating. In this way, one removes karaka ditthi, wrong view, believing that it is the Creator creating. And also, one removes uncertainty and doubt. Saraji will continue to explain tomorrow. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.